Gen Z, a generation that was never meant to be shallow. This is not a motivational video, and this is not something I planned to say loudly. This is just a conversation, the kind we usually have with ourselves at night when everything is quiet and honesty finally feels safe. Today, I want to talk about Gen Z, not the labels, not the stereotypes, not the jokes. I want to talk about what it actually feels like to be a part of this generation. Because somewhere between being called lazy, sensitive, confused, dramatic, or entitled, we forgot to ask one simple question. What if Gen Z isn't broken, just deeply aware? Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Do you feel misunderstood more often than you feel heard? If the answer is yes, you don't have to explain yourself. You can just sit with that feeling or write yes in the comments so you know you're not alone. Gen Z isn't lazy. We're mentally tired. We grew up watching the world fall apart in real time, not through history books, but through screens. We saw relationships collapse, careers promise stability and then disappear. We saw people smile online and cry offline. We didn't inherit certainty, we inherited questions. And when a generation starts asking too many questions, society doesn't listen, it labels. Millennials were taught how to survive. Gen Z was forced to understand. That's why we overthink. That's why we question authority. That's why we don't accept because that's how it is. As an answer. Thinking became our defense mechanism. Let me ask you something here. Do you ever feel like you're too aware for the world you're living in? Like you notice patterns, behaviors, intentions, but no one taught you what to do with that awareness? If that question hit you, what's one thing you feel deeply but rarely talked about? We don't talk enough about the homes Gen Z grew up in. Not to accuse, not to blame, but to understand. Many of our parents loved us deeply, but love for them often looked like responsibility, not conversations. They worked hard, they sacrificed, they did what they knew. But emotions weren't always discussed. Mental health wasn't even a topic. Feelings were managed quietly. So we learned discipline, but not always emotional safety. This isn't resentment, this is awareness. Our parents did what they could with what they knew, and Gen Z is learning what many before us were never taught. How to name emotions, how to communicate honestly, how to heal instead of suppress. Here's a gentle question for you. Do you grow up in a home where emotions were discussed or avoided? There's no right answer, only truth. Let's talk about sex honestly. Gen Z isn't obsessed with sex, we are confused by it. We grew up seeing intimacy everywhere, but understanding it nowhere. Hookup culture told us connection is optional. Porn taught us performance over emotion. Social media turned validation into worth. We were shown bodies, not boundaries, attention, not attachment, desire, not depth. And then people ask, why can't Gen Z form deep bonds? Is that even a question to be asked? I know I stumbled a bit, but because nobody taught us how. We were handed freedom without guidance, choice without clarity. Let me pause here and ask you something real. Do you crave deep connection or are you scared of it? And if you're honest, do you know why? They say Gen Z is too sensitive. No, we just refuse to normalize pain. We don't laugh at trauma, we don't romanticize suffering, we question systems that quietly hurt people. They say Gen Z doesn't respect tradition. We do, but we don't worship traditions that broke people silently. Respect doesn't mean obedience, it means understanding. And sometimes understanding means choosing differently. Let me ask you this. Do you think our generation is too sensitive or just more aware than the ones before us? I'd really like to know your perspective and be free to comment. Millennials were told, work hard and life will reward you. Gen Z watched them work hard and still struggle. That changed us. We don't chase careers blindly, we chase meaning, flexibility, and mental peace. Not because we are weak, but because we saw what burnout looks like. We don't reject ambition, we redefine it. We don't want success that costs our health or money that costs our identity. Here's something to reflect on. What does success mean to you, really? Not what the world told you, not what social media sells you, not but what you feel. Gen Z is the most connected generation ever and the loneliest too. We learned how to communicate online before we learned how to feel safe emotionally. We talk to everyone but trust very few. We share thoughts but hide vulnerability. Loneliness didn't make us broken, it made us observant. It taught us to sit with ourselves, to question, and to reflect. Let me ask you something quietly. When was the last time you felt truly understood? Not liked, not validated, understood. Gen Z doesn't want perfection. We want honesty. We don't want fake confidence. We want real conversations. We don't want to be saved. We want to be understood. We want space to grow without being rushed, to change without being judged, to exist without being constantly explained. And maybe that's why we are misunderstood. Because we don't fit into a world that was designed for silence. Gen Z isn't lost. We are just early. Early in realizing that money without peace is empty, that love without respect is hollow, that freedom without self awareness is chaos. I want to leave you with one last question. What's one truth you've realized recently that changed the way you see life? You don't need to make it perfect, just make it honest. This is my diary, and here we don't shout, we don't pretend. We speak the truth slowly, deeply, and without fear.